The Safe Streets program set to receive a funding increase of $5 million. We question how the money will be spent and if it will help keep you safe. Plus, as Mayor Scott touts that violence is down across Baltimore, our team examines crime trends from past years and if things could change in the warmer months. Then, why a school board president says her district cannot afford the cost of the Kerwin plan.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 4.
We begin with breaking news. 17-year-old Anquan Jackson has died from his injuries following a triple shooting along Colvin Street on April 16th.
The city police say Jackson was found inside of a stolen car with a gunshot wound to the head. A 15-year-old and 18-year-old were also shot. Homicide detectives are investigating. Anyone with information is asked to call Baltimore police. Good afternoon. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Maxine Stryker. Anquan Jackson is the 10th child to be killed in Baltimore so far this year.
And his death comes as Mayor Brandon Scott provides a one-year update on some of his community violence intervention efforts, what he calls a public health approach to reducing violence.
We know that this is not something that we can police our way out of. We know that. When we are literally seeing people be killed by people that they would call their friend over something so small.
Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost begins our live team coverage as the mayor commits more money to the Safe Streets program.
But Mackenzie, there are still several unanswered questions about how this funding is being spent.
Yeah, Maxine and Kai, we've been asking questions like how are mediations tracked? How do the organizations spend this money? And why are Safe Streets workers going to New York City throughout this investigation? Those questions remain unanswered. And despite that, Mayor Brandon Scott announcing the Safe Streets program will be getting even more money as he doubles down on these efforts.
Good morning, and thank you all for being here.
The community violence intervention ecosystem, something Mayor Brandon Scott has been talking about for a year. A web of programs working to curb the gun violence crisis gripping Baltimore for almost the last decade.
The work is ever evolving.
While touting the efforts and plans to expand,
let's talk about Safe Streets.
The focus remains on Safe Streets, an anchor, as Shantae Jackson says, the director of the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement. Despite digging for details about how the program is working to save lives and working to bring more information about accountability surrounding the millions of dollars to the program forward,
Monty will invest ARPA dollars in Safe Streets administration for the first time of $5 million.
Fox 45 News has gone to all the locations multiple times. The city limits Safe Streets workers from speaking to Fox 45 News about their efforts.
Say no statements whatsoever. Y'all have a great day.
Through our investigation, we found Safe Streets locations allowed to have up to $500 in petty cash a month. That's about $120,000 every year, and we have yet to find out how that money is being spent.
Does the city or the CBOs have the receipts for the petty cash that each location has and how that money is spent?
We'll follow up with you. We know that these programs, again, Mackenzie, that have been proven not by us and analyzed not by the city of Baltimore, independently by Johns Hopkins, one of the most prestigious and well-respected institutions in the world, to say that this program works. And that's what we should be talking about today.
The mayor's office never following up with us. And here's that Johns Hopkins report touted by the mayor. He and Director Jackson point to the effectiveness of Safe Streets outlined in the pages as justification for pouring more money into the efforts. They also don't mention the city commissioned the study and spent nearly $150,000 for it.
The Hopkins study also says that there was no significant change in homicides in the 6 newer program locations for the Safe Streets program.
After more than a year of asking the city to show the public how violence interrupters do their mediation, what counts as a mediation, and track the progress.
That in partnership with Administrators Catholic Charities and LifeBridge Health, Monty will be producing quarterly and annual Safe Streets reports.
No timeline given for when those details will be shared with the city about a program partly funded with city taxpayer dollars. Given the renewed push to continue with Safe Streets, a program with a rocky track record of effectiveness, transparency, and accountability, we renewed our push for more details.
Will you and Director Jackson agree to do an interview with us to talk about this moving forward and how this $5 million will help grow the Safe Streets locations?
Well, again, I think that what you should think about that is, Mackenzie, well, what are you asking for? Interview? Let's get that question very clearly. What do you want to interview us about? The success of Safe Streets?
I would talk about the Safe Streets program, yes. You and Director Jackson.
We'll get back to you and let you know about that.
Why won't you?
I didn't say that we wouldn't. Next question.
Mayor and Director Jackson's teams ignoring our follow-up questions about how exactly the new $5 million will be spent and about setting up that interview.
Now, this entire ecosystem also includes putting these violent intervention programs in 3 high schools across Baltimore. When this program was first announced, it was slated to begin in the spring of this year. Now we're learning that that program will start in the fall of this upcoming school year. We asked the city why there's now this delay, but again, those teams ignoring the questions. We're live in the newsroom. Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
All right, Mackenzie, thank you. That brings us to our question of the day now. Would $5 million be better spent on Safe Streets or Baltimore police? So far, 95% of those who voted say Baltimore police. You can make your voice heard right now at foxbaltimore.com/vote.
During today's announcement, the mayor pointed out both homicides and non-fatal shootings are down across Baltimore. But does that in fact mean the city is getting safer? Alexa Ashwell crunched the numbers. She continues our team coverage live outside police headquarters. Alexa, what are you finding out?
Yes, Kai. So when we looked at the numbers, according to the latest statistics from the Baltimore Police Department, right now homicides are down 19% and non-fatal shootings down 18% across the city compared to this time last year. But typically, historically, when the months get warmer, crime increases. So here, take a look at the breakdown of the homicide year-to-year data. Since 2017, homicides have increased from the first quarter of the year to the second quarter. That's when we enter spring and summer. So last year, homicides jumped 23% when comparing January, February, and March to quarter 2, which includes April, May, and June. 2021, homicides increased by 30%, and 2020, homicides went up 38%. Today, the mayor was questioned in a city that's seen more than 300 homicides a year for the past 8 years if he's confident these numbers will stay down.
I'm confident that we will continue to work each and every day. You hear from all the folks here. We know that right now, as you and I are talking, we're talking about a 19% reduction in non-fatal homicides and an 18% reduction in non-fatal shootings. We want to expand that. We want that percentage to grow in the right direction. And that's what we're going to work towards every day from a standpoint of doing the both and. From our CVI work that includes the totalness of what we're trying to do to reduce violent crime.
The mayor there speaking to his holistic approach to his crime fight, including the group violence reduction strategy. At 5, his response when questioned if BPD simply has the manpower to achieve this. Reporting live outside police headquarters, Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Funeral services were held this morning for 12-year-old Jalen Richards. He was shot and killed a week ago in Westport. Family and friends gathered at St. Matthew's New Life United Methodist Church. His mother, aunt, and grandmother spoke to Fox 45 News last week, telling us Jalen was caught up in the wrong crowd and recruited by older gang members. He was on house arrest and wearing an ankle monitor for a recent theft charge at the time of his arrest, according to the family.
Now, Jalen's death, part of a violent April among Baltimore's youth. As we mentioned, 17-year-old Anquan Jackson just died from his injuries following a shooting on April 16th. 1 week earlier, 2 teens were shot at the Inner Harbor. Police say they were in a crowd of about 200 young people when the shots rang out. Youth violence extending into Baltimore County, as well as this past Sunday, a 17-year-old was shot and killed in Overly. As part of a Your Voice, Your Future town hall last night, panelists, they discussed what they're calling a leadership crisis in Baltimore and around the state.
Too many of our leaders at almost every level has pretty much slapped our kids on the wrist, and then we turn around and we blame the parents. We want to charge the parents and everything else. But like you said, you made it easy for law enforcement to kind of back up. You've taken so many tools out of the tool belt for law enforcement.
If you missed last night's town hall, you can catch it right here this Sunday, April 30th at 3 p.m. The town hall will also air twice on Saturday on MyTV at 3 p.m. and the CW Baltimore at 7 p.m. or you can watch it anytime you'd like on foxbaltimore.com.
We find ourselves in an unprecedented time, and quite frankly, Carroll County, we're struggling.
As budget season continues, another Maryland jurisdiction is raising red flags about how it will pay for state-mandated blueprint education funding. Fox 45's Amy Simpson joins us live right now. And Amy, what are you learning about this?
Well, Kai, so Carroll County, as you heard, now raising its own concerns, asking for more time to implement the changes mandated by the blueprint here in Maryland. And today, Carroll County School Board President Marcia Herbert took this issue straight to the Maryland State Board of Education. And while she did not share specific dollar amounts, she said the district is struggling with these state mandates. Take a listen.
The restrictive nature of the blueprint funding is making it very difficult for us to implement without additional funding. Even if our commissioners raise taxes, they will not be able to raise them at the rate that will allow us to implement blueprint.
And just earlier this month, Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott called these mandates with the blueprint funding a gut punch when he says the city realized it would need to allocate an additional $67 million to education funding in fiscal year 2024. Reporting live tonight, Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Firefighter John McMaster, who was severely injured and survived last year's deadly building collapse on Stricker Street, has retired from the Baltimore City Fire Department. McMaster's family and friends celebrated his service to the city at Engine Company 14 this past Friday, throwing a party and presenting him with gifts. Our special thanks to Stan Jaworski for sharing these photos.
And some breaking news now just into the newsroom. A shooting in northwest Baltimore leaves a man in critical condition. It happened shortly before 3 p.m. near Reisterstown Road and Northern Parkway. Police tell us the initial call came from a business in that area. Anyone with information is urged to contact Baltimore police. Coming up, controversy at Laurel Park as horse racing there remains shut down. What the Maryland Racing Commission discussed in an emergency session today. And President Biden makes it official, but can he win with the economy where it stands? We have team coverage just ahead.
And as we continue to bathe in sunshine for the evening commute, with temperatures falling from around 60 into the 50s, we do remain in a moderate drought, and we've got some beneficial rains to come. I'll let you know when they're going to get here in my Weather Authority forecast.
Hey, let's go live to Camden Yards right now on a clear afternoon, just over 2 hours from first pitch as the Orioles host the Boston Red Sox. The Orioles are looking to make it 8 straight wins after last night's comeback. How about that?
And Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Myers here now. So what can you expect if you're heading out to the game tonight?
It's
You're doing
going to
great.
be cool. Orioles hot, weather cool. I know.
Hot team on a cool night.
Yeah, I was at the game on Sunday, and it was a nail biter. And I mean, we can't be stopped. So let's do it. All right. Only thing that could stop us is the weather, right? And thankfully today and, well, maybe not as much tomorrow. But I know tomorrow's an earlier game. I believe it's a 1:35 p.m. Hopefully we'll keep our fingers crossed we can avoid the rain and get it in before any of the showers get here. But today, it's going to be nice. We've got HT radar showing us. Yep, there's rain off to our north and some more frost and freeze conditions possible as you head toward Chicago, Detroit. These are frost advisories and freeze warnings. None for us anymore. But what we have, unfortunately, to look forward to, actually, I wouldn't say unfortunately, because actually I just checked. We are in a moderate drought. We had some rain potential here coming for tomorrow. Now, the bad news is the timing of this rain. Right now, we've got some partial sunshine, some patchy, fluffy, kind of cottony cumulus clouds is what we call them in weather. And we continue to see that under fair weather high pressure right now. It's a cool afternoon with high temperatures right about 60. Notice the next weather maker, there's plenty of rain with it. And it looks like as we start harnessing some moisture from the Gulf of Mexico and the southern Atlantic, things are going to be getting gradually wetter around here over the next several days. The weekend potentially could be kind of a washout, at least, especially for Friday as well as maybe even Sunday. So here in Baltimore right now, about 60 degrees, winds into the west-northwest at 6, and nice dry day, just gorgeous. Temperatures right near 60, should be closer to 70 this time of year. So kind of flipping, I guess, flipping about a month back in terms of temperatures and in terms of where the average should be. But 59 with sun will take. It's colder to the north and west, and that air continues to flood in through the rest of today. High temperatures again in that 55 to about 60 range, and then we clear out a little bit overnight, but I think clouds will come in by tomorrow morning. There's a chance of a sprinkle early at 8 a.m., and I think as we head through the day, especially into the afternoon, notice by about 4 or 5 o'clock as a cold front actually moves in from the north and west. Look at that rain. There could even be a rumble of thunder in there as well through the PM commute. So the commute time doesn't look so good. And then as we head to about 8 o'clock and midnight, that begins moving south and east to the eastern shore. After midnight, that is gone. But, oh, it's going to come back. Take a look at that 7-day forecast. About 68 or so tomorrow. Showers during the afternoon, especially. 67 on Thursday. I took the chance of rain out as we mix with sun. We're back at it. Maybe some heavy rain on Friday. A good soaker. Highs in the 50s to near 60. A few showers left over Saturday. Could get back at it again with showers and storms on Sunday. That's a warmer day, but still right at average near 70. Dries out hopefully next week, Monday, Tuesday. Still, I think, a risk of a shower with highs near 70 there as well.
Governor Wes Moore will be the keynote speaker at Coppin State University's commencement ceremony. A statement from the school reads, Governor Moore exemplifies our mission, values, and educational ideologies. Graduation ceremonies are on Friday, May 19th at 9 a.m. Well, Disney is on its second round of layoffs, totaling about 4,000 employees by the time the cuts are done on Thursday. This round hits different parts of the company, including ESPN. Disney officials also expect a third round of layoffs, looking to cut about 3,000 more employees. Hyundai outlining a plan to build electric vehicle batteries in the U.S., finalizing a $5 billion deal to set up a plant in Georgia. Hyundai currently has 3 electric models and does all its building in South Korea. This comes as Hyundai and Kia are in some hot water over theft concerns. Maryland Attorney General Anthony Brown joining at least 17 other attorneys general in asking the companies to recall some models. Brown says those car companies are failing to address safety issues, allowing criminals to use USB cables to steal cars. He says Hyundai and Kia are putting the burden of safety on owners rather than taking proactive steps. Well, piling on trash. Complaints in Baltimore are nothing new. Fox 45 News tours a severe and reoccurring case of illegal dumping with seemingly no help in sight. And a ceasefire in place in Sudan, but not for long, while U.S. officials say it's a critical time to pull Americans out of the war-torn country. Well, track conditions at Laurel Park remain up for debate after the recent deaths of multiple horses there. Brad Bell from our sister station in D.C. joins us now. Brad, what's wrong with the track?
Well, you know, it was interesting today. I talked to some jockeys, a number of horse people, trainers, and they're saying very simply the dirt track here is too hard. A jockey described a horse, running full speed, pounding, and sometimes they say it's just too much for them and the horses break down, and too often they have to be euthanized. And that was the case last week. 2 in races, and we're told others in training, a total of 5 horses dying here just this month. So what you're hearing now, what you're seeing is an emergency meeting that was called by the Maryland Horse Racing Commission today. They brought all the parties in, said, what are you going to do? And immediately upon starting the meeting, the head of the Jockey Club, the organization that runs the track, both here and at Pimlico, said that they had reached an agreement to bring in an outside consultant that the Thoroughbred Horsemen's Association wants to have come look at the track. So that is going to happen. That person is going to make a report back to the Horse Racing Commission, and then they hope to get racing soon. They don't know when. Already this week, Thursday's races were scrubbed because none of the trainers wanted to enter their horses because they felt the track was too dangerous. Of course, this is a touchy time. The Preakness coming up, the Kentucky Derby in just 2 weeks. It's an important time of year for this industry that is already facing so very many challenges. We're going to be back with you in the next hour with much more, and you'll hear from some of these people that I described today, the trainers and the jockeys that say the horses and their lives are being put in danger now. So I'll send it back to you.
All right, Brad Bell, thank you. And as Brad mentioned, the controversy at Laurel Racetrack, it comes during horse racing's peak season. The Triple Crown begins in less than 2 weeks with the Kentucky Derby on May 6th. 2 weeks later, it'll be the Preakness Stakes right here in Baltimore at Pimlico Racecourse, of course. Tickets are on sale now, and today is the last day to get yours at that current rate. Prices for select areas are going up tomorrow morning. Entertainer and civil rights activist Harry Belafonte has died. Born in Harlem, Belafonte was one of the first black actors to break through in Hollywood. As a singer, he was known for his smash hit Banana Boat song. He was a known civil rights leader working closely with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He marched in protest and held benefit concerts. Harry Belafonte was 96 years old. Developing now, there is a 72-hour ceasefire agreement underway in Sudan, allowing foreign countries to get their citizens out. The U.S. and Saudi Arabia helped the two sides negotiate a deal, while both say they want to stop the fighting. U.S. officials say they want to make sure there's a transition to a civilian authority.
It's a good sign that they've both agreed to this. Now we're going to watch it as closely as we can, monitor it as best we can, and we're going to continue to urge both sides to abide by this ceasefire.
Other ceasefire attempts, they collapsed rather quickly. Well, old sofas, unwanted cars, plenty of trash piling up, and it's been happening for years. One homeowner shows us why he is so fed up. Maryland school test results published, then reposted with much of the data redacted. The state claims it's for privacy, while one whistleblower says that's not the case.
President Biden launching his re-election campaign, but can he win with the economy as is? I'm Atrell Nashar with a closer look coming up.
Year after year, Calder City, they come out a while ago and took a little trash from beside that car right there, but they never touched none of this.
A West Baltimore man says trash has been piling up behind his home for years, and despite his complaints, he says the city hasn't done anything to help.
The grime is so bad, he's now reached out to Fox 45 News for help. He showed us the trash today, and we pressed DPW and the Department of Housing for answers.
If they don't do something about it, it's going to get worse and worse. It's not going to get better.
For decades, one man who didn't want to be identified has lived here along Lehman Street.
86 years.
From the front, it looks like your typical West Baltimore home.
It wasn't like this. Walk over here with me a minute, honey. I want to show you something.
But head to the back and you'll find it's a different story.
I'm ashamed to invite anybody here, including you people coming here to take pictures of it. It's ridiculous.
Piled up behind this 86-year-old man's home.
I'm as old as the trash. That's how long I've been here. Well, you see a mattress, you see a sofa, you see, oh, Lord, what isn't over here? I don't even know.
Mountains of trash.
Reclining chair, there's a mop, there's a baby step, two of them baby things that you put babies in a car. There's another sofa.
And he says that trash attracts plenty of wildlife, from rats
cats come up there
to cats.
Oh, yeah, there's one sitting up there now.
The problem, he says, is nothing new.
They come in at night and pull back in there and dump the stuff out and just throw it anywhere.
In fact, he has paperwork that proves the city has known about it since he started calling to complain 6 years ago.
Since 2017, here's the paperwork.
In 2017, a housing code enforcement official issued several violations for the property behind his. It's noted the owner had been deceased since 1994. Then again, in 2021, another violation order at the same address cites several derelict vehicles.
Year after year, Calder City, they come out a while ago and took a little trash from beside that car right there, but they never touched none of this.
He says over the years, nothing significant has been done to clean up the view from his back porch.
What the city does, they put a Band-Aid on something. Band-Aid ain't going to help a broken arm.
And now he's losing hope in the city ever cleaning up the trash.
Clean the damn mess up, that's all. Nothing else, just get it the hell out of here.
So we did reach out to DPW and the Department of Housing asking if the property has been cleaned up and will anything be done to clean it up. The Department of Housing says the property was last cleaned by DPW, believe it or not, 15 days ago. And since 2021, there have been 6 work orders for the property to be cleaned. They say there's currently an open request for that alley, including the mattress, trash, and bulk items with DPW. We have not heard back from DPW on when the next cleanup will happen.
2 lawsuits have been launched against the city over recycling. Nearly 200 Baltimore residents are fed up with the city's recycling policies. Residents argue the city is violating its charter by not providing the weekly recycling they're paying for. A second petition is also calling for the mayor to shut down his Clean Core initiative, which involves paying community groups to keep streets clean. They want the money to help understaffed DPW instead.
Let's finish this job. I know we can, because this is the United States of America. There's nothing, simply nothing we cannot do if we do it together.
President Joe Biden making it official through that Twitter video. He's launching his campaign for re-election. It's 4 years to the day since the president announced his decision to run in 2020. We have team coverage of the president's announcement tonight. Scott Thuman dives into the campaign trail coming up at 5:15. But we begin with Atra El-Nashar and the potential hurdles for Biden amid economic uncertainty across the country.
The President of the United States, Joe Biden.
President Biden, once again, a presidential candidate. In his first remarks since launching his campaign Tuesday, promoting his economic agenda.
It's time to finish the job.
Drawing a contrast with Republicans.
They believe the best way to grow the economy is from the top down, and then to watch the benefits trickle down to the rest of us.
A new poll by The Economist and YouGov shows American adults continue to rank inflation and jobs in the economy as their top issues. But the president's approval ratings on both issues are underwater.
We will get through this together.
When President Biden took office in January 2021, the nation was still reeling from the pandemic. Vaccines not yet widely available, and the economy essentially at a standstill. Unemployment was 6.3%. Now it's tied for a 50-year low at 3.5%. Annual inflation was just 1.4%, spiking over the next year and a half, peaking at 9.1%, falling last month to 5%.
I know that there's a lot of pessimism out there, and you can't ignore the fact that there is high inflation, or at least relatively high inflation. At this juncture, I don't see the economy being a slam dunk for the incumbent, in this case Biden, or something that's going to be a big negative. Because again, the economy is solid, it's sound, it's not doing great, it's doing good.
Economic issues have plagued one-term presidencies in the past. High unemployment under President Gerald Ford, soaring inflation under President Jimmy Carter, and under President George H.W. Bush, sluggish GDP growth and a soaring poverty rate.
Those conditions are far worse than the present, but that's not stopping the president's opponents from making it a target. In Washington, I'm Atrell Nashar.
Governor Wes Moore is supporting President Biden, saying this is our moment. He says Maryland has the president's back. Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott also voices his support, saying the president has delivered when it comes to addressing gun violence and crumbling infrastructure. The Republican Party's official account tweeted this announcement, saying or asking why the president didn't name any accomplishments in his announcement video.
3 Democrats have now officially entered the race, the president joining author Marianne Williamson and anti-vaxxer Robert F. Kennedy. On the Republican side, along with Trump, former Arkansas Governor S.A. Hutchinson, former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, and businessman Vivek Ramaswamy have officially announced campaigns. Trump's Vice President Mike Pence also reportedly considering running. Former President Trump's attorneys arriving at a Manhattan courtroom today as jury selection begins in his rape trial. The former president is accused of raping writer and former magazine columnist E. Jean Carroll in the 1990s. Trump called her a liar. He's not likely to attend this trial.
Why would the state of Maryland take down school test results and later report or repost them with much of that data redacted? As Project Baltimore's Chris Papps explains, the state says it's all about student privacy.
But one employee who worked at the Department of Education says it's about something else entirely.
They do not want to talk to media. They do not want anyone to talk to media.
This person, fearing retaliation, asked not to be identified.
When the media does a story, it's very tense in the building.
That building is the Nancy S. Grasmick State Education Building. It houses the Maryland State Department of Education, the same place this person worked for years in a leadership position.
They do not like to be questioned.
Project Baltimore has been trying to speak with someone inside this building, specifically State Superintendent Mohammed Chaudhry. But he will not agree to an interview with us.
It makes complete sense that he doesn't want to talk to the media because he doesn't want to answer the hard questions.
Project Baltimore, in February, broke the story that 23 Baltimore City schools had 0 students among those tested who scored proficient in math. In March, the state uploaded revised state test results, and much of the data we used to be able to see was replaced by asterisks.
From somebody who has worked at MSDE, what do you think happened?
Well, I think that the data did not put his tenure in a good light. And I think that because of that, they changed the information, the data, hid the data, so that it didn't make him look bad.
While the state superintendent has refused to speak with Project Baltimore, his department, in a statement, said the move was done to protect student privacy. They called it enhanced de-identification. Previously, the state redacted data if the sample size was fewer than 10 students. But because of learning challenges presented by the COVID-19 pandemic, MSDE says it's now concealing all testing data where less than 5% of students scored proficient and fewer than 30 students took the test.
Enhanced de-identification. In your time at MSDE, have you ever heard that term?
No, never.
On Thursday, MSDE posted this 3-page letter to its website concerning Project Baltimore's coverage. The letter mentions 6 times that changes to the data are federally required. But the U.S. Department of Education's website clearly states, under protecting student privacy, that the department does not mandate a particular method, nor does it establish a particular threshold for what constitutes sufficient disclosure avoidance. These decisions are left up to the individual state.
I do not believe, by looking at those numbers, that you can identify students based on those numbers.
So Project Baltimore looked at surrounding states to see how they reported their 2022 testing data, specifically at the lowest performing schools. To our north, in Pennsylvania, we can see if a school had 0 students test proficient. Look at this. There are 5 schools right here with 0 students proficient in math. Virginia also makes public a lot of information. Though if fewer than 10 students are in a sample, the state shows results as greater than or less than 50. But if there's more than 10 students, the state shows percentages. Look at Ginter Park Elementary in Richmond. There are 0 students proficient in history and social science. West Virginia is similar. We can see how many schools have 0 students proficient there. Delaware does provide a little less information, but we can see schools with as few as 2% of students tested who scored proficient. All 4 of the states that surround Maryland provide the public with more information about how schools are performing. They provided more information before MSDE enacted enhanced de-identification.
Had Project Baltimore not done the story on those 23 schools in Baltimore City with 0 students who tested proficient in math, do you think that data gets changed?
I think that the data would have stayed the same. I think that they're trying to hide that the public school system is in worse shape than what we thought.
I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
8 Maryland House Republicans are responding to the state removing test scores in a statement citing Project Baltimore's reporting. Baltimore County Delegate Kathy Shaleka, a former teacher, says transparency about test scores is essential to improve learning. She says, quote, hiding the data should not be the response to failing schools. Delegate Lauren Erikin of Harford County asks why MSDE is not applying the same enhanced de-identification measures to high-performing schools. She goes on to say, quote, this is a precedent we do not want to set for Maryland schools. The delegate sent 2 letters to State School Superintendent Mohammed Chaudhry about their concerns.
At last night's Your Voice, Your Future town hall, Carl Stokes, a former city council member, had strong criticism for Baltimore City schools.
The biggest solution, number one, is education. I agree with the pastor. That changes and determines a person's life. And right now, Baltimore City is destroying kids' lives because they don't educate them. They won't allow them to have an education.
How could that be possible, though?
They don't give a damn about black kids.
Comes in. What about the superintendent?
They don't give a damn about black children.
On Thursday, a city council committee will hold a hearing on the Baltimore City public school system. Council members are expected to question school leaders about a recent Project Baltimore report revealing 23 schools where 0 students among those tested were proficient in math. Fox 45 News will have complete coverage of that hearing on air and online.
Still ahead, 92 reasons to go to this year's Maryland State Fair. We share who's headlining this summer's music lineup.
Have you been struggling after an injury? You might need exercise as medicine. I'm Liz Bonus. We explain what that means and how it could help in healing. That is just ahead.
And a fine, almost fall feel to our weather with temperatures at 61 at 5 p.m. Mostly clear skies, 9 and 1 a.m. If you're going to spend some time on the porch or the deck this evening, you're going to need a jacket. We fall down into the 40s. I'm going to let you know when rain is going to get into our forecast. Well, needed rain, but also travel impacting rain. That's coming up in a couple of minutes.
Dear Maria, count me in for this year's Maryland State Fair music lineup. Did you get that? All Time Low is headlining on Friday, September 8th. Mayday Parade and Gym Class Heroes will also be there. Then on Saturday, September 9th, Quinn 92 takes the stage. Tickets are going on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. on the State Fair's website. The fair, by the way, begins the weekend of August 24th. We hope you'll be there. All right, Jonathan, you'll be there, won't you?
Oh, yeah, Will. And you will, too, I'm sure,
I will,
Guy.
too, yes.
Yeah, All Time Low. That's a big name.
Pretty big,
It's a local
right?
name, too. I know my kids used to take piano at the music workshop on York Road, and that's where All Time Low here in Baltimore City formed and began playing.
Very cool.
So, and that's
a nice little
practice.
factoid. I like
Pretty
that.
interesting,
Yeah,
huh?
Thank you.
All right, well, we got the HT radar that's got not a whole lot going on right now, but take a look north and west. There's some rain here toward Detroit and Cleveland, Hamilton, Ontario. Nope, that's not coming our way, but what is this. You can see down toward Wichita, Memphis, there's a whole bunch of rain, and that is moving north and east. In these areas in blue and purple, those are frost advisories and freeze warnings around Chicago. Those will stay away. But again, sunshine, fair weather, high pressure that we've got right now is going to give way to this weather maker. And there's some rain and maybe even a couple of thunderstorms potentially as we head into tomorrow afternoon. It's not going to be warm and humid and, volatile or anything like that, but we could have some potentially heavier patches of rain as some Gulf moisture and also some Atlantic moisture begin getting in the mix. Right now on the Mile 1 Task Cam, kind of clouding over a bit, mostly cloudy skies. No rain yet, no rain tonight. Winds out of the west-northwest at 6 and our humidity only at 31%. Temperatures right about mid-50s near 60 right now. You take a look north and west where our winds have been coming from. Still some of that cool air, so we're going to keep that fed in through the remainder of the afternoon into this evening as temperatures fall off into the upper 40s by early tomorrow morning, probably near 40, I'd say, by the time we get toward, say, sunrise, the coolest part of the night and early morning. So you're going to need some jackets. And even this evening, if you're going out to see the O's, they're taking on the Boston Red Sox once again. I believe the start time here is at 7:05. And we're going to be seeing just a couple of those clouds like we're seeing now with temperatures gradually falling into the 50s during the game. No rain threat here. And then it clears out. It's cold overnight and early tomorrow morning. Not as cold as the 37 you woke up to this morning at BWI, but low and mid 40s by tomorrow morning. Notice the clouds quickly increase. And that shouldn't stifle our temperatures too much, though, because winds will start picking up out of a warmer southerly direction tomorrow. So lunchtime tomorrow, clouds. There could be a sprinkle or a light shower as well as at 2:15 as you're getting the kids from school. And how about 4 or 5 o'clock? There's that rain I was talking about and could even have a couple rumbles through the afternoon commute. So that could be a bit of a mess. And by about 7:45, 8 o'clock in the evening, that starts pushing south and east. And I think it's gone by about midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. And here's a look at your 7-day forecast. Actually dries out nicely for Thursday with some in and out sunshine, 67. Then Friday, that could be a washout, on and off rain all day long. And I think that could be a little giving at 61. I think we'll probably be stuck in the mid-50s. And then it looks like some 60s back for Saturday, a little bit drier. That could be the better day of the weekend, although still kind of drizzly. Then rain and thunderstorms could arrive again. Some heavy rain potential, maybe even some stronger storms in the mix there with a high 71 and near 70 from Monday, Tuesday into early next week.
A perfect prescription for injury recovery may be at the gym. Medical reporter Liz Bonus explains how it can help in healing.
Hey there, hello to you. If you've been struggling after an injury, the next step in recovery may be to continue therapy with a medical exercise program.
I'm a U.S. soccer referee. I travel around the country and basically doing too many games.
That's exactly what Warner Allen said led to a calf injury that up until now had him in physical therapy 4 times.
Now, for the first time, because of my medical recovery program, I feel like it's healed.
Karen Sims runs the medical exercise program here at Ohio's Tri-Health Fitness and Health Pavilion.
Our bodies are supposed to move, so the more we move them, the better we feel.
She says, well, Warner's calf certainly needed initial healing time and physical therapy. Medical exercise programs pick up where it leaves off.
We can't cure things necessarily with exercise, but we can help you overcome the symptoms.
Karen says a typical medical exercise program can last 8 to 12 weeks.
It all plays a role in making the body work the way it's intended to work, and then we feel better.
For Warner Allen, a trainer specifically helped him target the areas around the injury and the rest of the body, too.
Not only helps build my capacity, but my endurance, especially on the field. When you have a clean, healthy body, you have a clean, healthy brain. For me, you're better as a referee, so.
The hope, of course, is that you stay on a program, even when you are healed, that keeps you active for life. I'm medical reporter Liz Bonus. Now back to you.
A new report from the CDC shows working conditions can have a major impact on your health. Problem areas for employees include working late nights, inflexible schedules, and a lack of paid sick leave. The CDC says about 1 in 37 working adults experienced serious psychological distress in 2021. Coming up at 5 o'clock, what role does the city health department play in tackling the youth crime crisis? We pressed the commissioner on her role in helping with the mayor's new youth curfew. And coming up next, eating healthy on a budget is even harder with high food prices across the board, but Consumer Reports has some money-saving ideas. With food prices high these days, we could all use some tips for saving money. But what if you also want to eat healthy? Here's Patrice Sanders with some easy ways to find budget-friendly healthy items when you shop.
We're all still suffering sticker shock over grocery prices, including Natalie Marie Rowe, a mom of two who shares the meals she makes her girls on Instagram.
Feeding my family healthy foods and not breaking the bank has been a challenge, especially the last year.
All those increases might have you giving up on healthy eating, but Consumer Reports says finding savings on nutritious foods begins before you head to the store. First, make a list of what you need to help avoid impulse buys. Natalie takes this tip one step further in an effort to cut corners.
Look at the sales, I look at them, I write things down, and then I create our weekly menu, depending on what's on sale.
You can also consider switching to the store brands of your favorite products.
Consumer Reports testing found that they tend to cost between 5 and 72% less than the name brand products.
NCR's taste testing experts found most of them tasted just as good as the name brand. And if you live near a discount grocery store like Aldi or Lidl, their store brands can even be cheaper. Another way to save: fill your freezer.
With frozen produce, you only have to take out as much as you need for that meal.
And if meat prices are taking too much from your family food budget, CR says one way to fight back is to try some plant-based proteins.
Plant-based foods like beans and tofu tend to be less expensive than poultry, meat, or seafood.
Finally, skip the pre-cut fruits and veggies from the store.
They may be more convenient, but the cost is often much higher per pound.
Although it may take more time to do your own slicing and dicing, it'll definitely save you money. Consumer Reports says another way to save is to plan a week's meals ahead of time so you're not buying more food than you'll actually need. Patrice Sanders, Fox 45 News.
Coming up on Fox 45 News at 5 o'clock, another $5 million will be going to the Safe Streets program. And Fox 45 News pushes city leaders for transparency on how that money is being spent and if the program is working. Another Maryland jurisdiction is raising red flags about its required Kerwin spending. Why so many are saying the unexpected price tag is putting them in a tough spot. The mayor celebrates a crime reduction today. We're taking a look at what's behind the numbers and if his Safe Streets program is really having an impact.
A 12-year-old is laid to rest the continued violence against young people in Baltimore.
A program meant to help educate kids is putting local governments in a tough spot. Why so many school leaders say there are problems paying for Kerwin and the Blueprint Education Plan.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 5.
Breaking right now on Fox 45, a man is in critical condition after being shot in northwest Baltimore. Police say it happened around 3 o'clock near Reisterstown Road and Northern Parkway. Fox 45 News sent a crew to the Reisterstown Road Plaza where the call came from, but we were not allowed on the property. Detectives are in the area searching for suspects. Anyone with information is urged to contact Baltimore police.
Also breaking tonight, 17-year-old Anquan Jackson has died from his injuries following a triple shooting along Colvin Street. That was on April 16th. Police say Jackson was found inside a stolen car with a gunshot wound to the head. A 15-year-old and 18-year-old were also shot that night. This is now a homicide investigation, so anyone with information is asked to call Baltimore police.
Thank you for staying with us. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Maxine Stryker in for Mary Bubala tonight. The news that teen died from his injuries comes just hours after the mayor held a press conference touting the city's progress on crime and his public safety initiatives.
We have team coverage tonight on the crime crisis, and we dig deeper into whether those plans are really making a difference, starting with Mackenzie Frost. And Mackenzie, we understand you pressed the mayor on his Safe Streets initiative.
Yeah, Kai and Maxine, the mayor holding this big news conference today with himself, some other community groups, and Shante Jackson, the director of the mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, all there marking the 1-year anniversary of this community violence intervention ecosystem. That's that umbrella term we often hear from city leaders that includes hospital-based programs, the efforts from the city, as well as the Safe Streets program and the group violence reduction strategy efforts. Now, when it comes to the Safe Streets program, we know that we've been investigating this gun violence prevention effort for nearly 2 years now, trying to get more information about accountability, transparency, and the effectiveness surrounding this effort itself. During the news conference today, we heard from Director Jackson say the city will be spending $5 million on the Safe Streets program moving forward. The funding coming from the city's allocation of the some $641 million Baltimore got from the federal government from the American Rescue Plan. But through our investigation of the Safe Streets program, we also found something interesting. We're learning that each location, we know there are 10, each location has some petty cash on hand, but we have really yet to find how that petty cash is being spent. Does the city or the CBOs have the receipts for the petty cash that each location has and how that money is spent?
We'll follow up with you. We know that these programs, again, Mackenzie, that have been proven not by us and analyzed not by the city of Baltimore, independently by Johns Hopkins, one of the most prestigious and well-respected institutions in the world, to say that this program works. And that's what we should be talking about today.
The mayor's office never followed up with us after he said he would about the receipts for the petty cash, and the mayor also not touching on the fact that the city spent almost $150 on that Hopkins study of the Safe Streets program. Now, during the news conference, we also asked the mayor as well as Director Jackson to sit down with us for an interview to talk about how this $5 million will be spent on the Safe Streets program. Neither leader committed to doing that, and when we followed up with their teams after to try and get it scheduled earlier today, their teams both ignoring our questions. Kai?
Mackenzie, so clearly where our questions are concerned, some unfinished business here with the city. Meantime, is the city launching the school-based violence intervention program? What's the situation with that?
Yeah, if you remember, it was announced last October that this pilot program would be implemented. We were told it was supposed to launch in the spring of this current school year at 3 different high schools, Carver, Mervo, and Digital High. But today, we're learning that that violence intervention program, that pilot in the schools, won't be starting until the fall of this upcoming school year. Again, I followed up with both teams after the news conference since we were limited to 2 questions. So I sent them an email after asking why this delay in the implementation of the program. But again, those questions went ignored from everybody in the city today. But we do know that this violence intervention pilot program will be monitored and administered by Catholic Charities, which we also know already has some hands in the CVI ecosystem as a whole. Catholic Charities, one of the 2 community-based organizations implementing the Safe Streets program. And again, we've tried to get more information about how Catholic Charities, along with LifeBridge, monitors the funding, the effectiveness of these programs, and we really haven't gotten very many answers. Again, if the director and the mayor want to talk about this, we'll sit down for an interview. We'll be more than happy to get it scheduled. But for now, we're live in the newsroom. Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Mackenzie, thank you. That brings us to our question of the day. Would $5 million be better spent on Safe Streets or Baltimore police? So far, 98% of those who responded said Baltimore police. You can make your voice heard right now at foxbaltimore.com/vote. Across Sunday and Monday, 8 people were shot in 7 incidents. That includes a double shooting and a 15-year-old shot in the groin. While none of those victims died, it's an alarming string of violence as the city tries to control the crime crisis.
Homicides and non-fatal shootings are down this year compared to last year, but does this in fact mean the city is getting safer? And it's a question everyone is asking. Fox 45's Alexa Ashwell crunched those numbers. She continues our team coverage live from City Police Headquarters. Alexa.
Yes, Kai, we found the city finished the first quarter of this year with 64 homicides. That's a 25% drop compared to the first quarter in 2022. But the data also shows over the years, crime has increased as the months get warmer. It was a violent start to April here in Baltimore, with 2 teens shot at the Inner Harbor on Easter Sunday. And while homicides and non-fatal shootings are down across the city compared to this time last year, historically, crime increases in the warmer months. Here, a breakdown of the year-to-year homicide data showing since 2017, homicides have increased from the first quarter of the year to the second quarter, including since Mayor Brandon Scott's time in office. Last year, homicides jumped 23% when comparing January, February, and March numbers to quarter 2, which includes April, May, and June. 2021 homicides increased by 30%. The mayor questioned, in a city that's seen more than 300 homicides a year for the past 8 years, if he's confident these numbers will stay down.
I'm confident that we will continue to work each and every day.
The mayor taking his answer to his holistic approach to reducing crime, mentioning the creation of the Community Violence Intervention Ecosystem and plans to expand the group violence reduction strategy.
We want that percentage to grow in the right direction, and that's what we're going to work towards every day from a standpoint of doing the both and. From our CVI work that includes the totalness of what we're trying to do to reduce violent crime.
But the mayor receiving some pushback as an integral part of GVRS calls for focused police resources, and the department remains nearly 500 officers short.
This one is critical. This one, I would dare say, is the most critical. It gets to the department's ability to immediately respond to a crisis.
Yes, I'm very confident that we're going to be able to move GVRS as we're continuing to move in the right direction. We've already expanded into another district. GVRS is a working program that we're going to continue to expand in Baltimore City, period.
The mayor doubling down on his approach as the city enters warmer months that historically come with more crime. And another mandate that will call for more police resources is the mayor's citywide youth curfew, which will go into effect in about a month. Reporting live outside police headquarters, Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Alexa, thank you. Happening this year, an alarming number of children have become victims of violent crime in Baltimore and even in the state of Maryland. Funeral services were held this morning for 12-year-old Jalen Richards, who was shot and killed last Saturday in Westport. Family and friends gathered at St. Matthew's New Life United Methodist Church. His mother, aunt, and grandmother spoke to Fox 45 News last week, telling us Jalen was caught up in the wrong crowd and was recruited by older gang members. He was on house arrest and wearing an ankle monitor for a recent theft charge at the time of his death, that according to his family.
This year, 10 children have been killed in Baltimore. At the top of the hour, we told you about 17-year-old Anquan Jackson, who died from injuries related to a triple shooting just last week. A week earlier, 2 teens were shot at the Inner Harbor after crowds of hundreds of kids gathered, causing chaos and disrupting local businesses. And the youth violence extending into Baltimore County over the weekend. This past Sunday, a 17-year-old was shot and killed in Overley. Well, the lone survivor of the Stricker Street fire collapse retires from the Baltimore City Fire Department. Firefighter John McMaster, his friends, family, and even fellow firefighters celebrated his service to the city at Engine Company 14. They presented him with gifts and a party as a thank you for keeping Baltimore safe. In January 2022, McMaster was critically injured when a vacant, burning home collapsed on top of him. 3 other of his colleagues, firefighters Paul Buttram, Kelsey Sadler, and Kenny Lacayo, tragically were killed. McMaster was saved from the rubble and spent 3 days at the University of Maryland Shock Trauma Center. In the wake of the tragedy, the fire department implemented new safety measures, including a program making a vacant home warning to firefighters of potential collapses before they happen. And Fire Chief Niles Ford resigned after a report showed multiple failures within the department. As budget season continues, another Maryland jurisdiction is raising red flags about how it will pay for state-mandated blueprint education funding. Fox 45's Amy Simpson is live now. And Amy, what are you learning about this?
Maxine, Carroll County Public Schools now raising its own concern, saying even a tax increase would not be enough to pay for Kerwin. It's intended to infuse billions of dollars into schools and classrooms across the state. But the reality of paying for Maryland's blueprint is hitting districts hard.
I asked for your assistance with Blueprint. We find ourselves in an unprecedented time, and quite frankly, Carroll County, we're struggling.
Today, President of Carroll County School Board taking the district's funding concerns to the state level.
The restrictive nature of the Blueprint funding is making it very difficult for us to implement without additional funding.
School Board President Marcia Herbert not sharing specific dollar amounts, but asking the Maryland State Board of Education for flexibility and more time to implement the changes mandated by the blueprint.
Even if our commissioners raise taxes, they will not be able to raise them at the rate that will allow us to implement Blueprint.
Good morning, everyone.
Earlier this month, Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott
It was a gut punch.
revealed the city's 2024 budget was forced to include $67 million more for education than originally planned. Scott saying this year the money will come from reserve funds.
We are going to meet this requirement because it's the right thing to do.
And before this year's legislative session came to a close in Annapolis.
Those are certainly things that we're going to be talking about over the interim to make sure that the formula of today represents where we expected it to be when it was passed.
Fox 45 News questioned Senate President Bill Ferguson if lawmakers are open to changing that funding formula to help local districts across the state.
We're always back every year, and I think we're always open to make sure if the facts and data are there, we will address it.
Well, in contrast, in his budget proposal earlier this month, Baltimore County Executive Johnny Olszewski said his team is proactively addressing some of those blueprint mandates, like raising the county's starting teacher salary. Reporting live tonight, Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Amy, thank you. A West Baltimore man says he's suffering because the city won't get rid of a massive pile of trash. We pressed the Department of Public Works for answers on why this mess hasn't been cleaned up.
5 horses dead this month, looking into what shut down Laurel Park and what it could take to reopen.
President Biden makes it official. He is running again. But what stands in his way and what will be so different from his last campaign? I'm Scott Thuman in Washington with a look.
And working into tonight, another cool one, not quite as cold as the 37 we woke up to this morning, but 41 overnight into early tomorrow morning. No chance of rain yet, but it looks like there could be quite a bit. I'll let you know when it gets here and how long it lasts. My Weather Authority forecast.
President Biden is running for re-election. He made the announcement on Twitter this morning saying he needs 4 more years to finish the job that he started. Chief political correspondent Scott Thuman has the latest on his push for a second term.
Let's go, Joe! Let's go, Joe! Thank you.
President Biden harping on positive messages he thinks will earn him another 4 years after painting a more dire picture of the alternative in this video announcing he's running again.
Around the country, MAGA extremists are lining up to take on those bedrock freedoms, dictating what health care decisions women can make, banning books.
Though this campaign bound to be much different than the last, a more spry-looking Biden in 2019 didn't have to hit the trails as hard since COVID meant quarantines, appearances from inside his home, Zoom interviews, even what they called a virtual rope line.
One of the things I think we'll see from the Biden campaign is a very scripted, very choreographed campaign. He's not going to be able to campaign from his basement like he did in 2020.
While supporters say Biden's accomplishments will make the difference,
compared to the alternative, they will vote for him, and the polls show that and show that strongly.
some new numbers reflect the opposite. Only 26% of Americans want Biden to run again, a mere 47% of Democrats. Republicans pushing out this new ad suggesting what a second Biden term would bring.
Financial markets are in free fall as 500 regional banks have shuttered their doors.
Border agents were overrun by a surge of 80,000 illegals yesterday evening.
Donald Trump, meanwhile, has been on the trail since last November, already 5 months of downplaying multiple criminal investigations and taking swipes at any opponent. So could Biden's low approval ratings, right now around 43%, help predict what'll happen next? Two past presidents with very similar numbers, Trump and Carter, both lost their re-election bids, while Obama and Reagan won theirs. On Capitol Hill, I'm Scott Thuman.
3 Democrats have now officially entered the race. The president joining author Marianne Williamson and anti-vaxxer Robert F. Kennedy. On the Republican side, along with Trump, former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson, former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, and businessman Vivek Ramaswamy. They've all officially announced their campaigns. Trump's Vice President Mike Pence is also reportedly considering a run.
All right, time now for a check on the weather. A little bit chillier out today. I had to turn the heat back on yesterday, actually. But,
a little bit of a bite to the air today, as opposed to, if you remember, over the weekend and late last week, there were some 80s around. Well, we're going to wave goodbye to those for a little while. We're in a cooler pattern, a little more indicative of the way springtime, I guess, should be. It's actually even a little bit below average, and you know it's going to turn wetter, too. So commuting tomorrow could be a little bit rough. Frost advisories still and freeze warnings, where the chilliest area is still kind of located well out toward Michigan and northern Illinois. We did make it down to 37 here in Baltimore last night. Now it's just sunshine, and it's still going to be cool tonight, but no rain. At least not yet, not till this weather maker gets here. Out toward Wichita, west of Memphis, western Arkansas, all that rain, it's going to mean umbrellas have to come out again around here for the middle of the week, potentially as we head into tomorrow. There could be some showers in the afternoon taking the place of our sunshine and fair weather high pressure. And then another risk of some more rain could come towards the weekend and through the weekend. So you may want to have some indoor plans ready. Notice the showers with the next weather maker going to pair up with some Gulf of Mexico moisture and some Atlantic moisture. And therein lies the mess as we head toward Friday and again, maybe later Sunday. Hopefully now it looks like maybe later, say Sunday night more so, but we're still tracking all of it. 58 degrees, winds out of the southwest at 5 miles now right now. Still the dew point and the relative humidity pretty low, but those southerly winds going to help to moisten things up a bit and also maybe bring our temperatures up a few degrees. Temperatures all generally in the mid to upper 50s right now, taking those temperatures away. It feels outside really back like a month, more like average temperatures that we would probably see more so, say, early April. Maybe even later March than as we head into mid and late April. And temperatures are even cooler north and west. But again, those winds starting to switch more southerly. So that's going to kind of cut that off at the pass. Now, the O's game, 7:05 tonight, should be OK. It'll be dry, although a few extra clouds. And you'll need some jackets with temperatures in the 50s, falling into the 40s early tomorrow morning. Maybe a sprinkle here or there through the day tomorrow. But the best risk of rain comes tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. Look at that. The reds and the yellows, that could be some rain, maybe even a thunderstorm as we head to about 5:45. So through the PM commute, that moves then to the eastern shore and then out of here shortly after midnight tomorrow night. We go with 66 for tomorrow, some PM showers and storms. Clouds and sun mix as we head into Thursday. That's one dry day at least this week. Then it's rainy and breezy once again as we head into Friday, 55. Could have some heavier rain too. Drizzly and kind of cool for Saturday. Warms up a little bit on Sunday, but showers and thunderstorms, I think that'll mainly be later, hopefully Sunday evening, Sunday night. So most of the day shouldn't be too rainy. And then right near 70, could see a stray shower Monday, Tuesday of next week.
Civil rights activist and entertainer Harry Belafonte has died. Born in Harlem, Belafonte was one of the first black actors to break through in Hollywood. As a singer, he was known for his smooth voice and his smash hit Banana Boat song. Belafonte was a civil rights leader marching in protest, holding benefit concerts, and working closely with Martin Luther King Jr. Belafonte passed with his wife Pamela by his side. He was 96. A former city council member saying the state is using its power to hide its education failures. How parents may be able to make a difference and hold officials accountable. The House Speaker issuing an ultimatum to keep Republicans in line. The latest on the debate over the debt limit. Russia is pointing fingers at the U.S. and its allies, saying it's America's fault for Cold War-like conditions worldwide. Those comments come as Russia heads the UN Security Council this month. The country's foreign minister says the U.S. and other Western countries are creating financial, economic aggression and involving themselves in the battle against Ukraine. Western leaders fired back, arguing that Russia is violating universal human rights and freedoms repeatedly.
When the United States and its allies are abandoning diplomacy and demanding clarification of relations on the battlefield, and this is all done in the halls of the United Nations, which was created to prevent the horrors of war.
Russia's invasion of Ukraine, in violation of the United Nations Charter and international law, is causing massive suffering and devastation to the country and its people, and adding to the global economic dislocation triggered by the COVID-19 pandemic.
The UN Secretary General encouraged countries to recommit to their obligations under the UN Charter. Well, pass the debt limit bill or swallow a ceiling increase without any spending cuts. It's the ultimatum House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is giving to Republicans tonight. That means the proposal, which includes plans to cap annual spending at 1% a year, along with work requirements for assistance programs, won't undergo any changes. Some conservatives are not happy with McCarthy's proposal, and with a slim majority, the Speaker can't afford to lose many votes here. President Biden wants a clean bill with no strings attached. They have until June to figure this out. Laurel Park reevaluating safety after the deaths of several horses, the latest on the future of racing. A mountain of trash that's been growing for years. Fox 45 News pressing the city for answers on why one man's concerns have seemingly been ignored.
Year after year, Calder City, they come out a while ago and took a little trash from beside that car right there, but they never touched none of this.
A West Baltimore man says trash has been piling up behind his home for years, and despite his complaints, he says the city hasn't done anything to help.
The grime is so bad he's now reached out to Fox 45 News for help. He showed us the trash today, and we pressed the city for answers.
If they don't do something about it, it's going to get worse and worse. It's not going to get better.
For decades, one man who didn't want to be identified has lived here along Lehman Street.
86 years.
From the front, it looks like your typical West Baltimore home.
It wasn't like this. Walk over here with me a minute, honey. I want to show you something.
But head to the back and you'll find it's a different story.
I'm ashamed to invite anybody here, including you people coming here to take pictures of it. It's ridiculous.
Piled up behind this 86-year-old man's home.
I'm as old as the trash. That's how long I've been here. Well, you see a mattress, you see a sofa, you see, well, Lord, what isn't over here? I don't even know.
Mountains of trash.
Reclining chair, there's a mop, there's a baby step, 2 of them baby things that you put babies in a car. There's another sofa.
And he says that trash attracts plenty of wildlife, from rats
cats come up there
to cats.
Oh yeah, there's one sitting up there now.
The problem, he says, is nothing new.
They come in at night and pull back in there and dump the stuff out and just throw it anywhere.
In fact, he has paperwork that proves the city has known about it since he started calling to complain 6 years ago.
Since 2017, here's the paperwork.
In 2017, a housing code enforcement official issued several violations for the property behind his. It's noted the owner had been deceased since 1994. Then again, in 2021, another violation order at the same address cites several derelict vehicles.
Year after year, called the city. They come out a while ago and took a little trash from beside that car right there, but they never touched none of this.
He says over the years, nothing significant has been done to clean up the view from his back porch.
What the city does, they put a Band-Aid on something. Band-Aid ain't going to help a broken arm.
And now he's losing hope in the city ever cleaning up the trash.
Clean the damn mess up, that's all. Nothing else, just get it the hell out of here.
So we did reach out to DPW and the Department of Housing asking if the property has been cleaned up ever before and will anything be done to clean it up now. The Department of Housing says the property was actually last cleaned by DPW 15 days ago. And since 2021, there have been 6 work orders for the property to be cleaned. They say there's currently an open request for the alley, including that mattress, trash, and the bulk items you saw there with DPW. We did not hear back from DPW on when that will happen. A group of citizens fed up with DPW failures are currently suing the city. Nearly 200 Baltimore residents say the city is violating its charter by not providing the weekly recycling they're paying for. A second petition is also calling for the mayor to shut down his Clean Core initiative. That plan is using $15 million in taxpayer funds to pay community groups to help clean streets. The lawsuit says those funds should be used to bolster the understaffed Department of Public Works.
We're following the controversy over a decision to remove online student test scores. This morning, former City Councilman Carl Stokes spoke with FOX45's Megan Gillen about what parents can do to hold state and local education officials accountable.
New developments surrounding state test scores that were removed and then redacted on the Maryland Department of Education's website.
From somebody who has worked at MSDE, what do you think happened?
Well, I think that the data did not put his tenure in a good light, and I think that because of that, they changed the information, the data, hid the data, so that it didn't make him look bad.
A whistleblower who wants to remain anonymous now claiming it's not about student privacy, as the state has suggested, but rather image. Carl Stokes, a former city council member and former city school board commissioner, weighing in. It's a big accusation here. Is this even feasible? Can these leaders make big decisions like that to protect themselves?
Well, I would hope not. It's actually, I'm a little astounded by it, and in this world, it's hardly much to astound one. But and it's not about student privacy, obviously. They're releasing the facts of all of the students in a particular school. Right. And so parents, as well as taxpayers, have a right to know how the schools are doing. We're putting in billions of dollars of taxpayer dollar, and people are looking for schools to send their children to, and so they have a right to look up the statistics and then be accountable, or have the schools be accountable for how they're performing.
Our Project Baltimore team is working to get those numbers once again, try and find that transparency. They're having trouble even with all those resources. So what do taxpayers and parents do who want to see that information?
I think it's to go to our legislators and to have our legislators act in our House did, to step up and to demand of this public agency that they are transparent, that they share with the public the information which is already there and which, again, is not about personal student privacy, but it is about trying to hide obvious numbers to the public.
You can hear the rest of this interview and read all of our Project Baltimore's reporting on this on foxbaltimore.com. I'm Megan Gillen, Fox 45 News.
Well, Stokes was also one of the panelists in our Your Voice, Your Future town hall last night. A key focus was how to ensure Baltimore City's youth can thrive. Stokes saying there has to be major changes in the Baltimore City school system if kids want any hope of building a good life.
The biggest solution, number one, is education. I agree with the pastor. That changes and determines a person's life. And right now, Baltimore City is destroying kids' lives because they don't educate them. They won't allow them to have an education.
How could that be possible, though?
They don't give a damn about black
the money
kids.
comes in. What about the superintendent?
They don't give a damn about black children.
On Thursday, a city council committee will hold a hearing on the Baltimore City public school system. Council members are expected to question school leaders about a recent Project Baltimore report revealing 23 schools where 0 students among those tested were proficient in math. Fox 45 News will have complete coverage of that hearing both on air and online.
If you want to watch the entire town hall, you can do that right here on Fox 45 this Sunday, April 30th at 3 p.m. It will also air twice on Saturday on MyTV at 3 p.m. and the CW Baltimore at 7 p.m. You can also watch it anytime on our website, foxbaltimore.com.
Youth violence in schools and throughout the city is a major concern for Baltimore leaders. This morning, Fox 45 News spoke with Dr. Letitia Duraza, interim deputy mayor for Equity, Health and Human Services, asking what can be done to enforce the mayor's new curfew plan and crack down on youth crime.
The Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement is leading the effort to establish what the curfew centers will look like, right? We are rethinking them. There have been previous iterations, but again, our focus is not on penalizing these young folks. Our focus is really on how do we provide them with the additional support, wraparound services that they need so that they can be in a safe space.
Dr. Duraza also said the city's goal is to not increase children's exposure to police, but will work closely with BPD to make sure children are following the curfew and getting home safely.
All racing is stopped at Laurel Park after multiple horses die. Brad Bell from our Sinclair sister station in Washington, D.C. has the latest on what we know and if the future of racing at Laurel will continue. Brad.
Yeah, look, a lot of people here on the backstretch, Laurel, not happy about this story. Animal rights activists saying it is more proof that horse racing is cruel. The Kentucky Derby in 2 weeks, the Preakness in less than a month. And yeah, no racing here over concerns that the track is unsafe. So today, essentially the whole industry got together for an emergency meeting to try to work on a solution.
It is Maryland's primary thoroughbred horse track.
In third position, and Golden Pegasus is next.
But since 2 horses were injured racing and euthanized last week, bringing the total for April to 5 horse deaths here alone, there has been no racing at Laurel Park. Owners, trainers, and jockeys calling the track too dangerous. Jockey Rebecca Labar says the dirt surface is simply too hard.
Well, it's hard on the horse's legs. And when you're going at high speeds like that and all that concussion on their legs isn't good for them. I mean, that's going to hurt horses.
The Maryland Jockey Club, which owns and operates the track, claims it is safe and has resisted the demand of horse people to bring in a respected track consultant. So today, the Maryland Racing Commission, which regulates the industry, called an emergency meeting. And in front of a packed house at the track owner then telling the commission that they had reached an agreement to bring in that track expert. Commission Chair Michael Algio says the commission will determine when racing may resume based on that consultant's report.
We do not want horses running on a track that's not safe. We don't want horses and jockeys running on a track that has any issue.
Trainer Tim Keith of the Thoroughbred Horsemen's Association calling it a victory.
It's not only about the health and safety out there, but it's about confidence and having and maintaining a racetrack that's consistent on a daily basis.
Jockey Labar says she needs to know she is safe to race and that the horses have the best track possible.
I love the horses. They're my critters. Horses are, that's why we're all here.